I want to talk about absolute value. So let's look at a very simplistic problem. Absolute value of x equals 5. The absolute value actually means distance from 0. So what numbers are 5 units from 0? Well, there's two answers, 5 and -5. So when you solve an absolute value equation, what you want to do is get the absolute value on one side and then split it into two equations. For example, let's suppose you had 3 absolute value of x minus 2 equals 7. There are potentially two answers to this problem. So first we get the absolute value alone on one side, divide both sides by 3. So you get the absolute value of x minus 2 equals 7/3. Now we're going to say, okay, x minus 2 is equal to 7/3, or there's another answer, which is the negative. So you say, or x minus 2 equals -7/3. Add 2 to both sides, and you get x equals 7/3 plus 2, which is 13/3. Or if we add 2 to both sides here, you've got a -7/3 plus 2, and you get x equals -1/3. You should always check your answers by putting them back into the original, and you can see that both of these work in this case. Let's take a second example, 3 absolute value of x plus 4. Let's do a minus plus 6 equals 0. So again, we want to get the absolute value alone on one side before we do anything else. So we're going to subtract 6. Then we're going to divide by 3. And then we're going to split it into two inequalities. So I get x plus 4 equals -2. And x plus 4 equals +2. And there's an or in between because it can't be both at the same time. So you get x equals -6 or x equals -2. When we check our answers, you get 3 absolute value of -6 plus 4 plus 6 should give us 0. I'm substituting it back into the original. So when I simplify this, -6 plus 4 is -2. The absolute value of -2 is 2, so I get 3 times 2 plus 6 equals 0. 6 plus 6 equals 0? No, that's false. So -6 is not an answer. Let's try -2. 3 times the absolute value of -2 plus 4 plus 6 should be 0. Whoops, ran out of room there. So -2 plus 4 is 2, times 3 is 6, so I get 6 plus 6 equals 0. No, that one does not work either. I knew this when I made up the problem because at one point I have the absolute value equal to a negative number. An absolute value cannot be negative because it's the distance from 0. So right at this point, right here, if you noticed that, you would put no solution or empty set. A lot of people don't notice it at that point, so when you check your answer, you get the same answer, no solution.